Well, what do you want from life? You don't know, do you? You have never known, have you? You don't know where to find what you really want. You don't know what direction to turn in. That's the frustration. You don't know what direction to turn in order to find what you think you want. As long as you're turning in any direction, whatever, in the usual sense, you will be frustrated for the rest of your life. You will be angry, you'll be bitter, you'll be sad, you'll feel as if you've been gypped by God and everything else, by life. Come on now, you feel gypped, don't you? Don't you feel gypped? You've gypped yourself, and yourself only, through not comprehending something which it is quite possible for you to comprehend, which is that you have to run out of turning in any direction, whatever, in order to find the answer. As long as you're turning, as long as you're seeking the answer, you won't find it at all. What you will find is you in a new disguise. The same old miserable you in this new disguise, which you'll use as long as it gives you a certain amount of vanity satisfaction, but which gets boring mighty quick, doesn't it? Now you're right back to the despair. You know one of the deepest moments of despair? I've illustrated it this way, and I'll say it again, then perhaps comment on it a bit. The most horrible moment of despair is 5 minutes before the party ends. I'm speaking of a real party now. Haven't you been at a party and it was a good time? You had the drinks maybe and the food and the dancing around or whatever. You had a good time. And after a while, you were sitting there and out of the corner of your eye, you saw the first couple leave. Then maybe 10 minutes later, another couple leaves. You don't even know that your terror is mounting, because you're going to have to go back home, huh? And you know what you're grateful for? You're grateful for physical sleep. At least that will black it out a little bit. So day by day, the agony and the hell continues. And you're very much afraid that there's no way out. I'll tell you that there is a way out, but as long as you prefer fearing there's no way out, you'll never find it. Did you hear what I said? As long as you fear that there's no way out, that very fear is blocking you knowing the way out, because the fear is the blockage itself. You can't find the way out. Don't you know that bums aren't allowed in heaven? Hobos can't make it up there. Liars can't make it through the pearly gate. You can't go anywhere. The king up there at the pearly gate is not deceived by my disguise or your disguise. You walk up there calling yourself a good person, a Christian, a sincere student, and you have the proper facial expression. God is not mocked. We are dumb. God is not. So you can't bluff your way into heaven. Right here in this class, there's no way whatever you can bluff your way into the heaven that's available for you here. There's only one thing. And think about this for the next 10 years, and maybe it'll get through. There's only one thing to do in order to make it to heaven, and that is to cease trying to make it to heaven. You can't drag yourself through the gate with all your lies and your hypocrisies and your pretenses and all your beliefs. God isn't even fooled by you ladies or you men. God is not even fooled by your tears of anguish. He's not that dumb. You go ahead and bawl all you want. Who do you think you're kidding? God doesn't look down and feel sorry for you at all. He says, stop bawling and start working. So, with that preliminary, here's what we're going to do tonight, something very fascinating for both tonight and tomorrow. We're going to talk about the devil. We're going to find out exactly what the devil consists of. We're going to learn his tricks. And you might be quite astonished and maybe a bit dismayed as we talk on tonight. You might think that we're talking about you. And of course, we are. All right, let's start off. Joan, you can sit down there now, and then we'll go into it in a bit. Let's start off with some preliminary identifications of the devil. We're going to unmask him. We're going to find out everything about him. Because the knowledge of the devil, deep insight into it, awareness of it, consciousness of the devil, so to speak, will put an end to its false power to make us miserable, to make us afraid of death and afraid of life. It'll put an end to all that. If we can work hard enough to understand what the power, the force, the false force, is all about. First of all, the devil is always unconscious. Is his unconsciousness. That is, a dark part in me, a dark part in you, doesn't know it's a dark part. It senses the pain of it, but it so wants to hang on to its dark part that it will deny it even while suffering from the particular kind of devil that's inhabiting the person. Now remember, there are tens of thousands of them. Want to list a few? You know what they are. Anger, jealousy, competitiveness, the whole business. Anything that's negative is part of the devil. That's the second description. Anything that makes you miserable, that makes you haughty, that makes you afraid in any way at all is the devil. What else? What do you think the devil is? A man in a red suit with a pitchfork? He's inside you and he's inside me, and those pitchforks hurt. Don't they? You are permitting the devil to jab you all day long simply because you don't realize something. That you yourself are the devil, or I am. I'm living with it. I'm living with myself. That is what I am at the present time. Being involved in time, I'm suffering from the devil who lives in time. You might remember that too. The devil is in time, not in eternity. And we've talked many times in this class about rising above time, and you might want to ask questions about it sometime. So the devil, first of all, the thing to emphasize, the devil is always unconscious. For example, do you know that the devil isn't hearing this talk tonight? He is trembling, but he's not hearing it. And to the degree that you resist this talk tonight, unconsciously, to that degree you are inhabited and possessed by the devil. That's right. Oh, maybe I'd better tell you this at the start too. The best way to start getting rid of the devil is to be very casual toward him, to get bored with him. He's counting on you to resist evil, to fight the truth. And when you take the casual attitude while watching very carefully what's happening inside of you during this meeting tonight, if you're watching yourself very carefully, you may be able to catch the devil with his pitchfork ready to jab you. For example, say, well, that isn't right. I know more than that, or I don't need that, or whatever. You'll be able to catch him in the act, but the minute you catch him in the act, you mustn't feel ashamed of yourself, because that's the devil too, who's now put on another mask. Or apologetic. Don't be apologetic. Just sit quietly here in the class. Watch what's going on inside of you at the same time that you're listening here to me, which can be done. You try it sometime. You'll see you'll be able to put the arrow both in and out at the same time. That casual observing of what's going on inside of you right here in this class is the first step toward weakening the power of everything negative inside of you. All these dozens, hundreds of little imps, these imps of despair, these imps who want someone else. How many of you want someone else to like you? Let's see. You want someone to like you? The devil has got you. Why do you want somebody to like you? What's likable just to begin with? I've written out a number of sentences, very carefully boiled down to the simplest thought I could make it, statements, descriptions of the devil. So what you're going to hear, Joan is going to read them twice, read each sentence or two twice. Then on some of them I'll comment, others I may not. So this is how we're going to spend the evening, by having Joan read a certain statement. You might want to write it down. There's quite a few of them. And incidentally, afterward, if any of you want the list to look at or borrow it or do anything you want with it, it's available there. Joan will let you have it. You might want to write down a few of them, but there's quite a few. You may want to pay attention. Oh, I don't know why we have to rush. That's your trouble. You never stop to watch yourself as you reach for your purse or your wallet and put out that dollar bill to pay for the groceries. $10 bill, please. You never watch yourself as you take the shoe polish down from the shelf. You don't watch your hand take the shoe polish and put it down on the table, and you don't watch yourself shine your shoes. You're 1,000 miles away. So from now on, right now, at the 7:15, let's all be very much present in this room, relaxed, listening very attentively, very alertly, and yet without tension of any kind, so that we can enjoy our learning. What fun this is. Isn't this fun? Isn't it fun understanding the chain in order to break it? Aren't you miserable enough? Don't sleepwalk through the rest of your life for your sake. You are sleepwalking now. You're sad. I see your faces when you come through the door and you're off guard for a minute. Then you look up this way and you smile. Stop loving your sadness. All right, Joan, go ahead, please.
1. The devil hates to hear himself described. The devil hates to hear himself described.
Any of you been criticized this last week about anything? Been reprimanded? Been bawled out for something? What was your reaction to it?
Anger.
I'm talking about a just bawling out in this particular case. You were careless. You said a bad word. You had a bad attitude. What was it? You flared up when you shouldn't have. And if someone reprimanded you for it, he was describing your deviltry, and you hated it, didn't you? How many of you like to be right 100% of the time? How many of you are always right 100% of the time? How many of us have such an incredible vanity that we never want to be wrong, even though we're always wrong? You see, that is a form of not wanting our own deviltry to be described, to be exposed by other people. And you watch how you hide your deviltry, your wrongness, your negativities from yourself all day long. A sex thought comes up, a greedy thought comes up, and all of a sudden, instead of seeing the thought and letting it go, you hide it. What a dumb thing to do. Every negative thought you hide is going to jump out from behind that bush and get you again. If you'd let it come out and know how to handle it properly, which we're learning to do tonight, it'd disappear. And you could walk by that bush 1,000 times and it wouldn't jump out at you because you'd have put an end to it through awareness of the whole thing. The devil is so much against hearing himself described that he would rather play it safe and be with other people and with other activities where this sort of thing that we're getting here tonight is never ever brought up. Let's not talk about unpleasant things. Let's be happy. Let's talk about the new TV shows or the new sports event or the vacation we're going on. Let's do anything but face ourselves as we are with our concealed sarcasms, with our wish to get something from someone, regardless of how it might hurt them. You know what the lowest form of human beings there is? I'll tell you what a low form of human being is. A hit and runner, which is most people on earth. They want your money, they hit you and get your money and run. The politician gets elected, he wrecks the country and dies and runs. Grab and run. Go ahead, Joe.
The devil always acts in the name of something. God, country, a cause, and so forth. Always acts in the name of something. God, country, a cause, etc.
Yes, the devil always says something like this. The reason I started this war, or joined this war, or hurt that person, or stole that, or whatever, the reason I did it was because. Now the justification comes in, and they get so insane you can hardly believe some of them. God told me God told the church to put the human beings on the rack and torture them to death. God told those church people to do that a few hundred years ago. Always in the name of something, which, by the way, connects with the fact that the devil, being a coward, can never stand alone and take the responsibility for his acts. Someone else told him to do it, or the authority of the military or of the government or whatever says it's okay to do this. People with causes are insane. Any kind of a cause. Then the devil always has a cause. He must have one. And he must have as many people as possible joining him in the cause. Because he can look over at the person next to him and says, well, he says it's okay. I guess it's all right. See? He can never look at himself and say, well, if 10 of us beat up a poor old man down on the street, if 10 of us do it, it's still a wrong thing to do, whether one person or 10 people do it. But look what you've done to me. I have a right to get revenge on society any way I can. And a sick society encourages that to the point where you see what's happening today. If any of you in this room or listening to this tape belong to any social causes, you're wrecking yourself and everyone else. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to have to give up that stupid club. Do you want those lying friends of yours, or do you want your eternal soul? Take your lying friends, and they'll lie to you till you die. and then they'll lie after you die. You have no friends at all on earth. Not really. All you have, perhaps, if you're lucky enough to have that, is another human being who has 1/10 of one part of him that wants to wake up as you do. That's your best. That's the best you can do for a friend in this world. All the rest are your enemies. Just waiting for the chance to get something from you. Find out what your friends want and have the courage to stop giving it to them. Oh, then they'll leave you. Hallelujah. Go ahead.
The devil calls a truly good person a devil. The devil calls a truly good person a devil.
There have been a few good people living on the face of the earth who became martyrs for the cause. They were called devils by devils. I don't think that one takes a good deal of explanation. The devil has no choice but to call a good man, a good person, a devil. That connects, by the way, with the simple psychological principle of projection. You call other people what you are because that's all you know. How could a devil call Christ a good man? It's absolutely impossible. Judas, being a devil, a devil, could not call Christ anything but a devil because that's what Judas was. How can you call someone good and mean it when you don't know what goodness is? So we project out onto other people what we really are, what we're hiding from ourselves perhaps. Everybody's a crook, you say. That's because you're a crook. Everybody is a crook. You can say that consciously and it becomes a different thing. All human beings are crooks, except the few who've awakened.
He never feels ashamed of his evil, but only changes the direction of his attack.
That's very good. Take an extreme case of a chronic criminal. Criminals never repent. They join the carpentry program or the plumbing program in prison or the religious program in prison in order to get out of the prison sooner, making the warden and other people think that they're trying to reform themselves. The devil, a permanent hardened devil, a person who has no possibilities of changing himself, can't do anything but put on new disguises and go in new directions. Which means, by the way, that if you have 1 ounce of brains, and if you have a very evil person in your life, or they try to get into your life, you will get them out of your life as fast as you can, and don't let them get close before they do the damage. Which means you can't be dumb, you can't be gullible anymore. Ladies, you can't be gullible anymore and let that man deceive you. It's your fault. You wanted to deceive him, or he couldn't have deceived you. But you cry over what he did to you. You were doing it to him too. He just got it first and ran. I'm very curious. How many of you really think that people who say they're sorry mean it? They're buying time. Let them be sorry and they'll come back and you'll be happy again with him or her for how long? 2 weeks? Then he's sorry again, or you're sorry again if you're the super nutty one of the two. See, when two neurotics live together, one of the two is simply the active, dominating neurotic, And the other is the passive submissive neurotic. Now, which are you? Connie had trouble answering. A submissive person is a devil. If you are consciously submissive, because you're at that time it's proper to be in the passive role, consciously submissive, you're not a devil. But this is much deeper than we want to go into right now.
He tries to make you feel ashamed of his deviltry. He tries to make you feel ashamed of his deviltry.
And I'll add to that. No one, I may have that in a later point, I don't know, but I'll go ahead with it now. No one has more arrogance than an evil part of us, than the devil inside of. No one has more arrogance, such gigantic lies that you believe them. You wouldn't believe that someone would tell such an enormous lie. You could believe they might tell a little lie, because you tell little lies, but the lie is so enormous you can't believe anyone would tell it. And so someone, read it again.
He tries to make you feel ashamed of his deviltry.
Yes. Have you ever known anyone like that, by the way? Have you ever had someone like that in your life? Where he or she did something wrong, and you can tell by their face who's going to get it for him doing wrong? You, huh? Or have you ever played that on someone else? It's your fault. It's your fault that I'm unhappy, maybe, whatever. You nodding, Alicia? You're in a good deal lately here.
Yes. I thought you were talking to me.
He is quite sure he can teach others, and is hurt and baffled when no one wants to hear his profound wisdom. He is quite sure he can teach others, and is hurt and baffled when no one wants to hear his profound wisdom.
Well, let's find out right in this group. Have any of you felt that you could do better up in this chair than I'm doing? Huh? Fred?
Yeah, in a different form. In a different form.
All right, we'll discuss it later. We'll have a private talk together. Come on now. Let's all search our memories, and not necessarily in connection with a spiritual thing. Haven't you ever wanted to teach someone or give them advice or something, and they didn't want your profundity? Huh? Huh? You are so smart, and they're so dumb, and you can't figure out how they can be so dumb as to not see how smart you are? What a dumb world. And then you fell into the ditch. I'm afraid we're describing all of our human natures, aren't we? Mm-hmm. That's the devil. Always wanting to give someone else advice. Stop wearing yourself out trying to save the world, please.
The devil cannot survive without hating and being hated. The devil cannot survive without hating and being hated.
Let's see the hands of those of you in this room who have hatred in you of any kind, any degree of hatred. Then the hatred in you is the devil in you, is it not? All right. About once every 2 months, I issue the following instructions. Your hatred, your deviltry, is destroying you. You burn from your hatred. Agreed? 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 Okay. Okay, I instruct you, in fact I order you, that effective right now at 7:30, you will drop your hatred and never again hate anyone or anything for the rest of your life. Okay? You going to do it?
Try.
Huh?
Next question is how.
How? Don't how, do it. See, you want a how as an out. You don't need a how. Why don't you do it right now? What's the how business? The how business gives you time to sneak around and hang on to it.
The devil cannot survive without hating and being hated.
So if you want to get rid of the devil that's tearing you apart, give up your hatred. Just drop it. Have nothing more to do with it, and then you won't suffer from that. And if you were to drop your hatred completely, you would have no other negativities either. You'd never be jealous. You'd never fear the future. Dropping the how is both very fearful and very necessary. Dropping the how, underline how, dropping the how is both very fearful and very necessary. Dropping the how is very fearful, both very fearful and very, very necessary. Can't you look back at the course of your life up to this evening and see the millions of hows you've asked? I'm not talking about the legitimate how of how to bake the cake or how to drive the car for the first time or how to plant corn, but the how can I find the meaning of life? See how this connects, by the way, with the idea of dropping the question? If you drop the question, you have no need of either the question or the answer. It's the intellect asking the question that makes an answer necessary, but it is always the wrong answer because it's on the level of the how, of the intellect, of the asking. If you cease to ask the question, would you need an answer? Drop the question and you don't need the answer. Who asked the question? The me that wants to keep going as it always has. The bundle of habits that wants to keep in, quote, control of its own life. One reason people don't like this class is because they're afraid they're going to lose control of their lives. What control, dear lady, dear man, are you talking about? Not this exterior person who can control a glass of water or control your emotions by suppressing them when you're ready to flare up. If you would abandon all control, you would have effortless control. Repeat. If you would abandon all control, you would have effortless control. And you wouldn't have to think about it. You would never have to ask, how can I control myself going into that courtroom, going into that domestic problem? You wouldn't ask, how am I going to control anything at all? The very asking of how I'm going to control takes you out of control. So you walk into that courtroom or to that situation nervous. Watch yourself ask, how should I behave? You won't follow your own advice at all. You'll be nervous. If you ask, how can I not be nervous, you'll be nervous. If you don't ask, how can I get over my nervousness, if you drop the question, you couldn't be nervous. It's asking, how can I stop being nervous, that makes you nervous. You're always trying to do something. Why don't you stop doing something? But saying I'm going to stop doing something is doing something. Stop saying I'm going to stop doing something.
He is nervous and hostile when in a truth class, but either conceals his hostility or makes small hostile remarks to see how far he can go.
We're talking about the devil. She doesn't start it with that word each time, but
I'd like to say this is the general heading is a description of the devil, as Vernon mentioned before.
yes, thank you.
He is nervous and hostile when in a truth class, but either conceals his hostility or makes small hostile remarks to see how far he can go.
Have any of you in any way at all ever been hostile or nervous in this room? Huh? Let's see the nervous, hostile people. How many of you think you might have made a little bit of progress in that area? You know, you've watched yourself being hostile, for example, and wonder why you would permit a negative bandit like hostility take you over in this class and make you miserable. Why am I permitting hostility to burn me right in this class? We begin to see why. The false self, the devil in us, is fearful of its own destruction at the hands of truth. That would have been a very good one if there'd been a new person here tonight who was loaded with hostility and could have taken it rightly. Read the last part of that again. That's important. Or the whole thing.
He is nervous and hostile when in a truth class, but either conceals his hostility or makes small hostile remarks to see how far he can go.
To see how far he can go. Have any of you ever tried to see how far you can go with someone else, getting mad at them before you got bopped on the beak? Huh? Well, that's what the devil does sometimes in classes like this. And you know what happens to him? He gets screamed at in subtle ways and sometimes open ways. Consciously. The devil can tell, by the way, one of his own. If someone misbehaves in this class and I yell at him unconsciously, the devil laughs. I've got him. It can't happen. Any devils out there, new or old devils, you're wasting your time. I yawn. Go ahead and behave like an idiot if you want. You've got no chance here at all. Can be handled in different ways, by the way, according to the particular characteristics of the devil misbehaving in the room. See? Next one, please.
The last thing the devil wants to do is investigate himself, for that would expose him as a vicious charlatan. The last thing the devil wants to do is investigate himself, for that would expose him as a vicious charlatan.
You understand, do you not, that the devil's inhabiting any of us are vicious charlatans that we have consented to live with, to let these vicious charlatans take over our psychic household, destroy it, break the valuable furniture in it, the valuable dishes and cups. You know why we permit the devil to do that? We love the sound of the noise of breakage. As long as I can give my spiritual hearing, psychic hearing, inner hearing, to the sound of something breaking, I can distract myself. The devil loves noise, I think, above all. Noise, he couldn't live without it. How marvelous to be at the football stadium with 100,000 people screaming their heads off because number 44 ran 97 yards and made a touchdown. Scream. And maybe you'll forget the fact that you hate your wife sitting next to you.
He always delivers the exact opposite of what he promises. He always delivers the exact opposite of what he promises.
A religious devil promises you heaven, and guess what you're going to get if you listen to him? Guess what you're getting? You've got it. Promises you heaven and gives you hell. And you know why, don't you? Because he has first given it to himself. Any religious devil who gives you hell has got it himself. What else do you expect him to give you? He gives you what he's got, what he loves, what he enjoys. For example, being the preacher who tells you how to get to heaven. How marvelous. God is not mocked.
The devil is a coward who must surround himself with other devils, such as those who agree with his deviltry. The devil is a coward who must surround himself with other devils, such as those who agree with his deviltry.
I don't think a lot of comment is necessary on that one. Since we want to live with our own misery and love it, we find it very pleasurable, quote marks, to surround ourselves with people who are as miserable as we are. That is, people who agree with our particular form of religious lies, political lies, social lies. A liar can't do without another liar around him. Otherwise, he would begin to feel nervous at living alone with himself. Therefore, living with other liars becomes a nice distraction, and he's certainly not going to associate with anyone decent who might tell him that he's a liar. That would make him uncomfortable. What do you think all human organizations are? Nut houses calling themselves this government body, this religious body. What do you think they are? Nut houses inhabited by dangerous nuts. And you are still going to contribute your money to that? You're going to contribute your presence to that? Your time to that? I'll tell you exactly what you are by what you join.
He is not conscious he is a devil because he calls himself an angel. He is not conscious he is a devil because he calls himself an angel.
You know, even while the devil is admitting his mistakes and telling you how sorry he is, what a dumb thing I did and all that, at the same time, while the surface admission is going on, his devilish nature is still keeping itself pretty much intact. The devil cannot see himself as the devil. There's no way he can do so. This means that if there's one small bit of the angel in us, this small part, this beginning of the angel can begin to be the observing part that can begin to observe the devil, because the devil himself is not going to do it. Can an automobile stand outside of itself and say, I am an automobile? Can mechanicalness observe itself? There's going to have to be something that is not pure mechanicalness to stand out and look back and see that we're automobiles, reckless automobiles, pure machines. The automobile can't do it. This is very important to understand. Otherwise, you'll think you're observing yourself. And that's simply the automobile living an imagination of observing itself. Strength you have, determined to rush right through the center of the disappointment, of the hurt, of the bewilderment, to plunge through the center of it, which means to live with it. Try to see much more deeply what that means, and you'll begin to see eventually the thousands of evasive actions which are presently unconscious to you. You'll begin to see the thousands of evasive actions that we take in order to avoid the full impact of the crisis. Look, are you aware of the number of crises you have every day? Can you begin to see how you waste the opportunity to plunge right in the middle of it instead of evading it with what? You find out where you're taking evasive action, and it'll be according to your own habits, your own conditions, whatever you think will make you feel better. You must never allow yourself to feel better. You must allow yourself to feel worse. This means to suffer fully, dreadfully, horribly, as much as you can from that crisis that happened to you, with that person, with your money, with your health, with your family, with your own thoughts. There's no way to get out without going through the suffering. You put a pillow under your head of saying tomorrow will be better, or maybe I'll find another distraction, or maybe my nice, comfortable, familiar situation that I had yesterday but which I lost today, maybe it will come back to me. Maybe I can get him back. Maybe I can get her back. Maybe I can get it back. That's a pillow under your head which will keep you asleep and which will make you afraid the next time you gain a supposed advantage, because you're already afraid of losing it, aren't you? Well, I always lose everything good I have sooner or later. I'll tell you a secret. If you didn't call it good, you would never lose it. Because you were losing your idea of good. Oh, that man, he was so nice to have around. He wasn't really. That was your idea because you were lost. You wanted someone strong around you. All those plans I had for my future, that money I invested, you have no idea of the brain work I put into buying that gas station or planning that move or whatever it was. I put all that into it, and now it's gone. I don't know who the enemy is who keeps stealing these things away from me. If I could find out who the enemy is, maybe I could destroy him. Then I'd be king. You're a madman. You're a madwoman, just thinking those very thoughts. For the sake of those of you who haven't heard it before, everything is good right now. This is about 9:05. Right now, ladies, gentlemen, right now, with you personally, all is 100% well. It always has been. You didn't know it. You're trying to get well when you're already well. What on earth are you trying to find? The seeking for happiness destroys it, doesn't it? You know that. Haven't you been trying to find ways to become happy? Well, how old are you? Don't tell me. Repeat. Whether you are aware of it or not, everything's great. Everything's fine. As a matter of fact, right now, everything is perfect. Not with you. With eternity. When you, as a time self, disappear through knowledge and application and practice and wisdom, when you, as a time self, disappear, you are not just in eternity, you are eternity, therefore all is well. Want to work?
Yeah.
Okay. Joan, you're on. We're describing the devil, each one of these sentences.
He subtly seeks to unload his troubles and responsibilities onto anyone he can. He subtly seeks to unload his troubles and responsibilities onto anyone he can.
Desperation, which is part of the devil, has no choice but to run along trying to find someone or some situation to unload all his troubles on, to blab endlessly about your troubles to someone else. What right do you have to dump your problems onto any other human being? How do you feel when they dump them on you? When they unload all their griefs, how bad their husband treats them, whatever. You're really bored, aren't you? And you're a little resentful when they try to get you to shoulder their problems just by talking to you. Where are you so infernally lazy, have lack of responsibility? You may not do it outwardly, but you may be doing it mentally, where you want someone else, even who you call God, to shoulder your problems for you. You know, if you have an idea of God and you expect that idea of God to shoulder your problems for you, you're going to double your problems. You're expecting a non-existent entity to solve your problems, but you don't know that. You think your prayers will be answered? They will be, but in the exact opposite way that what you want. You'll get deeper into despair praying to a non-existent God which you've made out of your own imagination and desperation. You find some small way from now on to take responsibility for your own actions, for your own thinking, for your own feelings. You take 100% responsibility for everything you possibly can. And even if you fail in 99 out of 100, if you have taken a new responsibility in that one place, you'll have gained additional strength. And most beautifully of all, you begin to see, maybe to your astonishment, that the idea of self-responsibility is incredible, incredibly good. We used to think it was an enemy. I don't want that responsibility. You do it. Your potentiality is developed by taking full responsibility for yourself, and the devil wants nothing to do with this. It's always someone else who has to do his work for him, and I believe there's another one connected with that later. Go ahead, please.
The devil will try to destroy you as he has already destroyed himself. The devil will try to destroy you as he has already destroyed himself.
Every human being with whom you're acquainted or will become acquainted, who is not trying to find himself, as we're doing here in class, every one of those people will try to destroy you. It's automatic. It's a momentum, a force which they don't think about. They must try to drag you down to their level because that's the only level they know. And it can be done very sweetly. Have you ever been sweetly betrayed? Huh? Next one, please.
Being a skilled actor, he can appear very kindly and helpful while looking for a chance to damage you. Being a skilled actor, he can appear very kindly and helpful while looking for a chance to damage you.
All right. My comment usually goes to someone out there, but how about someone in here for a change? Are you aware of any little tricks, any little games you play on other people in order to get an advantage over them? Do you do that? Find out what you want from them. Find out what you want, which is fairly easy to see if you have any honesty at all. Then find out what little trick you're playing to try to get what you want from them. What little game? I'm not talking about going out and selling hardware. If you want to tell a man this is good, solid hardware and it lasts for 10 years, fine, that's a fact. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about little psychological games where you're trying to trick someone. To make them like you? To make them impressed with you? Some of you are such cowards you won't open your mouth and say something dumb. In order to bear that experience and learn from it. You're a shut mouth. You're playing it safe. Some of you shut mouths here had better learn to be blabbermouths so we can see what you're really like. So you can see what you're really like. Instead of sitting back and playing it safe. Anybody can play it safe. We're here to put, this is the room, this is the class, this is the place to put yourself in what you call danger. It's not really dangerous, but you think so, because it will be treated differently in this room than in any other place in which you speak up and get bawled out or laughed at or whatever. It'll be treated helpfully instead of harmfully as the world will do. You're afraid of the world out there, so you keep your big mouth shut. But boy, do you blab internally, and do you bore your wife or husband once you get home. I wonder how many wives dread when Papa comes through that door at 6 o'clock. Here it goes again. But you know, of course, that over the years she's built up her defenses. Maybe she tells them her troubles first. Go ahead, Joe.
The devil has endless arrogance, which he labels as daring or bravery or independence. The devil has endless arrogance, which he labels as daring or bravery or independence.
That reminds me of a little incident I saw on television once. The devil has arrogance. The devil has arrogance. You know what arrogance consists of? Maybe you have a temporary advantage over someone, or you catch someone in a fault or something, so you get arrogant. Now's your chance to strike back. Now's my chance to tell you off. There was a movie on television quite some time ago, and the chief actor was Ralph Bellamy. You know Ralph Bellamy, the actor? And he was a father of a teenage son, and they were having a conversation in the living room. And the father had done something wrong, not a terribly bad thing, but something in which he himself probably disapproved. He'd done something wrong. And his son criticized him. And there's no one more arrogant than teenagers, and don't you forget it. That dumb heads, someone had better put them in line fast. Well, anyway. Anyway, the son had caught his father in this wrongness, and so he was being self-righteous and arrogant and bawling him out. And making the most of the opportunity, of course, because he'd been bawled out all his life by his father. And when he was through, his father, Ralph Bellamy, looked at him and he said, "You'd have to be 18 to be quite as cruel as that." Arrogance. You'd have to be 18 to be quite as cruel as that. Does that remind any of us of our 18-year-old behavior? The devil is arrogant. When you see an arrogant human being, you're seeing a devil, and you wait. Just watch him for the next 10 minutes when something goes wrong. But we'll get to that, I think.
He is a constant thief of your time and energy. He is a constant thief of your time and energy.
All right. Try to be aware in your own life where you're permitting devils or imps to steal your time and energy, and have the courage to put a halt to it. Where? You have to find out. My favorite illustration is simply Susie Q next door coming over and wanting coffee with you when that's her excuse for blabbing her troubles into your ear. But you find your own examples at your work, wherever, where people impose on you. For example, someone writes you a letter, perhaps. They wrote you a letter, and you look at it and you resent having to answer the letter, so you stall and stall and stall because you feel guilty over not answering it. Unless it's a practical reason, maybe a relative or practical information. What I'm trying to say is, why don't you find out whether you should answer that letter at all? Maybe you should just ignore the letter. One of the subtle tricks of an impish devil is to take an aggressive action towards you in some way, as for example with a letter, and that it automatically assumes that you now must respond to it. You write me a letter, I don't see the law that says I have to answer that letter. You wrote me, I didn't write you. Who says I have to respond? Do I owe you something? You think so? Maybe I don't think so. Just try to find out where you're wasting your time and energy doing things that other people demand that you do. See?
He insists that you pay for the damage he caused, which he claims was caused by you. He insists that you pay for the damage he caused, which he claims was caused by you.
That's pretty evident, isn't it? Lack of responsibility. Go ahead, Jim.
The devil hates and persecutes whatever is truly good and decent. The devil hates and persecutes whatever is truly good and decent.
All right, the devil is in us. Where might we be unconsciously persecuting, pushing away something that's authentically good for ourselves? Because we know better. Do you understand? I'm sure you do. That to the degree that you either persecute or would like to persecute someone else, get back, revenge, that degree you're persecuting yourself. All revenge on another person is revenge on yourself. What you do to another human being negatively, you do to yourself. There's no division in hatred. How can it be? If I burn down your house, that is the same fire that burns mine down. I can't burn down your house without burning down mine. It's impossible. The fire starts here, doesn't it? Doesn't the fire start here in my house? See how we've got to stop thinking that we're separate from other people? That we're independent of them? That we're apart from them? That's only thought that makes us think we're apart from other people, which does all the damage. All the conceit that we have that we know better. If we knew better, we'd feel better. But that's degrees. If we knew it all, we would feel all right. Read the next one.
He has no real mind of his own, but is conceitedly sure that he has. He has no real mind of his own, but is conceitedly sure that he has.
And to prove that, when you tell a person who thinks he has a mind of his own, when you tell him the fact of that, he resents it and goes away. Sensing the truth of it, he doesn't want to hear the fact. What more need we comment on that? Go ahead, Joe.
If there is work to be done, he wants you to do it. But if there is credit to be gained, he demands it for himself. If there is work to be done, he wants you to do it. But if there is credit to be gained, he demands it for himself.
Next, please.
The devil is successful only with other devils, never with decent people, which enrages him. The devil is successful only with other devils, never with decent people, which enrages him.
I think first we'd better define decent people. Where are they? I put it in that way simply to give the idea that we can have one small bit of decency in us. That's all we have. Now read it again, please.
The devil is successful only with other devils, never with decent people, which enrages him.
See, the devil can't succeed in this room. Not really. There have been a few people come here over the years who have... Look, I'm not as dumb as I look. No comments, Joe. The next line should have been, you couldn't be as dumb as you look. There have been a few devils come to these classes, and it's very interesting. The devil's a fascinating study because they're all different. Devils inhabiting human beings, of course. Some are right openly hostile, others are as sweet as sugar, and they're, you know what I watch some of them do? I'm just sitting here talking, just as I'm doing here now, and I see the devil sitting over there. I won't look in any particular direction. And I see the devil biding his time, biding her time. And here's what this devil in human form is thinking. Well, it's kind of interesting here, and it only costs $2. That's cheaper than a movie. And I'll just see what comes of it. I'll be polite, and I'll ask questions, and I'll talk to Joan and things like that. I know what's going on, and I know they're just biding their time to see whether they can use the group for their own egotistical purposes. Some of them can be very patiently cunning on it. They can come here for many months. The time finally comes when it's just too much work to keep the mask in place anymore. And one time, for the benefit, you have not heard this before, when the devil finally decides to leave because he can't take over the class, become important in it, use it for his or her sick egotistical purposes, when he finally sees that it's impossible, when they walk in the door, I know it's the last time, because I can catch the very shade of the difference of the facial expression when they look at me, for one thing, their general behavior. They even slouch, this is it, buddy, this is the last time. And they'll even make the critical, hostile, sneering remark that they've been holding back for 6 months. They'll make it because they don't care anymore. The mask is gone. They don't care. They will really expose the deviltry in them. They don't care. They know they're leaving. I know they're going. I know that's the end of it. And if any of you have deep devils in you, they'll try to take you with them. Okay, go ahead.
His main aim is to create other devils like himself. His main aim is to create other devils like himself.
What else? The devil can only give what he is, what he has. What do you expect? And you remember, and you connect this with your own inner state, remember the enormous, dreadful, nagging, haunting insecurity of devil thoughts, of devil feelings. Always anxious, always looking, you looked at, is that a face I can cling to? Maybe this man will join me in my neurosis, which I call whatever, religion, or maybe that woman. Always looking around for someone like he or she already is. Devils, they can go across the room and bump into each other because they recognize each other. Ah, one of my own. and the horror of what I can't think of anything more horrible than two devils, for example, who might come here, both hating, one sitting over there, not over there, one over there, and then both recognizing each other and deciding to leave, and on the way out to the car, you ought to have a tape recording of it. If you want to hear a conversation straight from hell, you ought to have a tape recording of what happens when two devils leave here and go together. Go ahead.
He is never more cunning than when pretending to want help. But once using a truth class for his own sick purposes, he leaves while sneering. He is never more cunning than when pretending to want help. But once using a truth class for his own sick purposes, he leaves while sneering.
If any of you ever catch any sneers in yourself toward this class, or toward anything for that matter, you had better work on that particular devil. We discussed that, so go ahead, Joan.
His lies are so incredible that billions believe him. For example, that you need sick people in your life. His lies are so incredible that billions believe him. For example, that you need sick people in your life.
You do need sick people in your life if your aim is to remain sick. Because they'll call you healthy, won't they? Sick people will call you healthy, and you'll call that other sick person healthy. So you have the mutual destructive pact between you. And you'll destroy each other. You'll succeed. There'll be no failure there. You'll succeed with your hatred, your concealed violence. Go ahead, John.
Absolutely no one is more stupid than the devil. Absolutely no one is more stupid than the devil.
Would you call self-destructive behavior stupid or intelligent? Go ahead, your next one, please.
The devil is clever in using words to deceive, as when he talks endlessly to cover the fact that he has nothing to say. The devil is clever in using words to deceive, as when he talks endlessly to cover the fact that he has nothing to say.
Now remember that there are degrees of the devil. Some of them we've even called imps in this class. Blabbermouthery could be classified as an imp rather than a big devil, couldn't it? Mechanical blabbermouthery, just going on and on and on saying dumb things. Try to catch little imps first. You'll be able to catch big devils later on. The big devils are too clever for you, by the way, right now. Their masks are too well, their wings are too fixed on too good to make them look like angels. And they fool you. You know why the devil fools you? Because you want a friend. You want a friend. Some friend. Go ahead.
He is never so happy than when his enemies get hurt. He is never so happy than when his enemies get hurt.
All right, think of that ex-husband, ladies. Think of that ex-wife, men. Think of who? Your father, your mother, your brother, your former business partner, your former neighbor. Think of someone that you've had a fight with, that you consider your enemy, and you heard the news that something bad happened to them. What would your reaction be to it? If you're happy, you're a devil.
He thinks his life story is so fascinating, it should be made into a book. While nothing bores him as much as a single incident in your life. He thinks his life story is so fascinating, it should be made into a book. While nothing bores him as much as a single incident in your life.
Comment necessary? Not really. Go ahead, Joan.
In most cases, only the death of the devil-dominated person will put an end to his deviltry.
Listen carefully to this.
In most cases, only the death of the devil-dominated person will put an end to his deviltry.
You tell me what else is going to put an end to it. Nothing. Believe me, it's not much different than a vicious wolf who goes around attacking sheep. You're going to change the wolf's nature. Only one thing will put an end to the wolf attacking the sheep, and that's the wolf's death. It's a very sobering thought. Think of it. And think how very difficult it is to ever convince anyone of this. How about convincing ourselves of it? We can do better here. We're trying to put an end to our deviltry before death does it. Hard work. Go ahead, Joan.
He is very careful to avoid a truthful person who is a threat to his phoniness. He is very careful to avoid a truthful person who is a threat to his phoniness.
You can store up comments or questions on these if you want, because when we're through, which we will be in a little bit, we're going to discuss them in open discussion. Next, please.
He takes his worldly success as a sign of great intelligence, when it may be a sign of a neurotic compulsion to prove himself. He takes his worldly success as a sign of great intelligence, when it may be a sign of a neurotic compulsion to prove himself.
And I put that "maybe" in there because a person could be wealthy and be wide awake. If you're wide awake, you've worked hard on yourself, and your rich uncle dies and leaves you $1 million, you're an awakened millionaire. I know this is the kind of life you want, huh? Go ahead, Joan.
When things go well, he is arrogant and sarcastic, but breaks down and bawls like a baby when things turn against him.
To the degree that every human being breaks down and bawls, and am I hitting home yet?
Yes, right here.
To the degree that you break down and bawl like a baby, you are arrogant. Because the opposites are there. One extreme proves the extremity of the other extreme. Right? The opposites will always be opposite. What I'm trying to clarify. But I think I made it worse.
He makes full use of self-righteousness. He makes full use of self-righteousness.
Next, please.
At the same time that he rejects truth, he is haunted by it. At the same time that he rejects truth, he is haunted by it.
All right, let's get a little class personal here again. Certain people have come to this class and have rejected the truths that are in it. And I've had reports back, two or three reports back from various people who have met these people. And one lady in particular was very hostile and warned this member of the class against the group. Very agitatedly warning this woman, warning the class member against the group. Don't you wonder why she thinks about us at all?
Yeah.
Why don't you ignore? If you want to leave, why don't you leave and ignore us? Forget us. Go about your business. What is this tie you have with the class? You know what it is, don't you? You know that when a person hears the truth and rejects it, they are haunted by it. This haunting, of course, could be used in a few cases with people to bring them back. The minority of people, not the majority, because their hatred is too heavy. But if they could notice, I wonder why I give all this attention to this class that I say has nothing. What's this chain that connects me with it? See? Why do you warn people against it? Why don't you forget us? I wish you would. If you don't want it, go. Goodbye. You understand, don't you? Okay.
The power of the devil is actually a cunning myth, but only the power of God, of truth, can reveal the myth. The power of the devil is actually a cunning myth, but only the power of God, of truth, can reveal the myth.
Only one devil inside of us can give the illusion of power to another devil inside of us. Try to see about a dozen devil thoughts, feelings, attitudes inside of you, and you'll see how they encourage each other, tell each other that you're okay, that all is fine. Watch devils conversing inside of you. You can do it. You sure can. You can hear them talking to each other, and if you're smart, you won't join their conversation, but stand aside and listen to it. You'll see an awful lot of astonishing and shocking things. And to the degree that you're able to stand aside and listen to these impish conversations, devilish conversations going on inside of you, to that degree you begin to see that they're not really you at all. This is the beginning of seeing through the myth of the power of the devil. The myth of the power of the devil to cause you to suffer, for example, to feel depressed, for example. It's the devil who's depressed, not you. Do you ever stop to think of that? That when you're depressed, it's the devil in you that's depressed, not you. Why do you identify with that imp in there? Why do you call it you? It's because it's the only friend you've ever had, right? Get rid of the friend. Quote marks.
Nothing is too low for an enraged devil to do against others. Nothing is too low for an enraged devil to do against others.
How many more?
One more.
Read the one more.
A male and a female devil can never have a right relationship, though their clinging hatred is called love or friendship. A male and a female devil can never have a right relationship, though their clinging hatred is called love or friendship.
Do you know a married couple, by the way, who are a pair of devils clinging to each other? Do you have any friends like that? You know that they're clinging to each other for mutual support while destroying each other? That's not too hard to see. Yes, please.
I was wondering, right there on the end, if two devils can't marry, can a devil and a non-devil have a right relationship?
Oh, never. What can happen? What can happen? Why, are you the non-devil?
No. I didn't mean to say I was the non-devil. I was just trying to find the right relationship, or if one was possible.
All right. An awakened human being does not have a relationship with the devil. He is aware of the devil without having anything connecting between them at all. There's no connection. See, a devil can only have a connection with another devil, not with, what should we call an angel? Is that, huh? Any angels here?
Just a saint.
One name.
When one, either the man or the woman, either wakes up or wants to begin to wake up, it begins to produce a crisis in the other person, because there's not able to cling to the other person, to have someone exchange the lies back and forth. And if you're the awakening one who wants to try to awaken at least, just that little small seed that wants to grow and become strong, if you're the one who's beginning to awaken, this will put a crisis in you too.
Yeah.
Why? You're going to have to make a decision as which you want. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Which do you want, Papa and Mama, wifey, husbandy?
Can two people trying to awaken make it, so to speak?
Yes, that'd be fine if they both really meant it, yes. And it happens once in a while. You see a man and a wife wanting to work together. That's fine. One will usually be much stronger than the other, though. Yeah.
Would that be like setting your own independence separately, but working together?
Oh, sure. If you want to wake up and you're living with a man or woman who doesn't want to wake up, you start to wake up, and then the situation will change of itself normally and naturally. You'll know what to do instead of making a decision on the basis of your intellect. And the first thing you'll know what to do is to never compromise in any way at all with that other person when it comes to the truth itself. You might compromise by saying we'll go shopping at 5 instead of 5:30 or something like that, but not where your spiritual integrity is concerned. Yes. By the way, were you listening to my answer?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
All right. Pay attention and to the answer, and don't put your hand up before I finish speaking, please. Listen to what I'm saying. Go ahead, please. Or did you lose it?
I lost it. I'll come back to it.
Yeah, sure. When I see you raising your hand before I finish a sentence, I suspect that your question is more important than listening to an answer. Why do you ask a question at all if you're not going to listen to the answer? Slow down. And if you see yourself rushing, eager to, that would be good work to be aware of that hand ready to go up. And it would be better yet if someone else beat you to the next question, because you become conscious of how now you after what was I going to ask? That's good exercise, good brain strain, isn't it? Dottie.
You've talked about boredom before. Would you discuss it again?
Boredom?
Yeah.
Boredom is the mad merry-go-round where you're tired of the same old sights. After they've given you a thrill for the first 10 times around, your mind gets bored with seeing the same things all the time. But you're afraid to jump off the merry-go-round. You want those familiar sights, and that's what boredom is. You won't leap off to where something is completely new to you. You'll always be bored. Do you know? Look, can't you be bored with success? You can be so bored with... Don't millionaires jump off bridges bored with success? Boredom is the familiar which you sense is not the answer. We insist that the familiar is the answer. My familiar marriage, my familiar philosophy of life, my familiar business. We take this as our salvation to begin with, and then after a while, when we either achieve it or don't achieve it, we begin to sense that it's not taking us where we really want to be. And that's good to sense that it's not taking us where we really want to be. But there's a great crisis. I'm going to have to leave. I'm going to have to jump. You don't know what I'm talking about yet. Merry-go-round. You haven't jumped. Scared. When you start to get tired and scared, down on the merry-go-round. joy that